Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Nation's Pastime in the nation's capital. I'm your host, Andrew Snaith, here with my co-hosts, James Higgins and Robbie Cruz. And guys, it has been a very long time, and we are under some very strange circumstances right now, but we are back, and opening day is tomorrow. Can you believe
Couldn't
it?
be happier to be back. Baseball's back tomorrow, and something good will finally happen in 2020.
It has been a strange year indeed, but none of us here at Nation's Pastime lost hope that we would have a season throughout all of the crazy negotiations that were going on and through all the Twitter rumors. And it's happening tomorrow. We're going to have some baseball. And we also have some news to talk about today. A huge signing extension broke as well. We'll have all that plus predictions and other things to get you ready for the 60-game season. But first of all, thank you all so much for listening. We know it's been a very long time. We kind of left without any notice back in March when we departed, and we haven't really updated since. It's been very crazy. We've all been busy and trying to do our best, staying safe. Hopefully everyone listening is as well. We're going to get this up on Spotify and YouTube, hopefully, and this is going to be sort of like a preseason episode, like we said, but come August, when we get back into the studio for real and don't have to do this remotely anymore, we're going to be back to the weekly show. So stay tuned to our Twitter. That's going to be active again soon for updates on that. So with that stuff out of the way, let's get right into the biggest news of the day by far, besides opening day being tomorrow, and that's Mookie Betts. And it appears he's going to be in a Los Angeles Dodgers uniform for a very long time. James has the specifics on that deal.
So Mookie Betts today, they were talking about this for a few weeks, but they still need to get the final language hammered down, given the fact that we don't know if we're going to have fans in 2021 in the stands. So I think they still want to hammer down the language with what, potential salary would look like in 2021. But overall, it is a 12-year, $350 million extension for Mookie. Added on to this year's arbitration deal, it is a 13-year, $380 million contract, which will keep him in Los Angeles for the next 13 years. He will finish his career in a Dodger uniform. I have not seen anything about a no trade clause, whether he has one or not. But regardless, the pandemic does not hurt Mookie's value on the market. He is getting one of the biggest contracts in the history of baseball. He is a top 3 player in the game right now. He's been a top 3 player in the game since 2016. He's a complete 5-tool player. He brings everything to the Dodgers. They don't have a contract on the books past 2022. So for a lot of people saying that the Dodgers are handicapping themselves, in fact, they aren't. They still have money to go lock up Bellinger and potentially Buehler because Kershaw's contract will be off the book. The Dodgers have put themselves in a great position to not only win a World Series in these next couple of years, but certainly along the line, given how well they develop players. As a Red Sox fan, it hurts me. It hurts me that Mookie's not coming back. It hurts me that a guy who was so hell-bent on entering free agency is not entering free agency anymore. He turned down a 10-year, $300 million extension from the Red Sox this past offseason and countered with 12 years, $420. I think the reason why he didn't want to enter free agency was, given the state of the country with the coronavirus and the economy, who knows if another team was going to offer him this money. So he's earned this money. He deserves it. Good for Mookie. Good for the Dodgers. Unfortunately for the Red Sox, it didn't work out that they could sign him to an extension. No hard feelings. I wish Mookie the best of luck on a potential Hall of Fame career.
Now, speaking of that uncertainty come this offseason, I'm going to turn over to you now, Robbie. This was interesting to me, in my opinion, because I didn't think we would see a massive contract extension happen like this, and I didn't even know if it would be like this in the offseason, because I feel like teams would be a lot more lenient to hand out big contracts following a 60-game season with a lot of uncertainty regarding performance. Do you think Mookie is an exception here with this giant extension, or do you think we're going to see a normal market for guys like Springer and Real Muto if they reach the free agent market this offseason?
That's a really good question as it is. If I had to guess, I personally believe that we are going to see other big contracts handed out. I don't believe we're going to see anything anywhere near this. But going back to the Dodgers on this Mookie Betts deal, what an incredible deal. Mookie Betts, to me, is an exception compared to many superstar athletes who've gotten their big paydays. I believe that the Dodgers will always have a bright future ahead of them. They're great for international prospects. They're always bringing in money. So this is going to be a competitive team with a superstar talent for the next 12 years. Obviously, when he's 38, 39, 40 years old, he's not going to be that good. But the main part is that through the main part of his contract, Mookie Betts will perform. And as you guys remember, I criticized the Brewers giving Christian Yelich so much money, but not because I didn't think Yelich was going to be very good, but because I didn't think that the Brewers had any future whatsoever. The Dodgers, on the other hand, this team has a future. This team has a future, and now they have a superstar to build around for the next 12 years.
This
know what's
team
also going to.
also is ridiculously stacked. I mean, you take a look at the Dodgers lineup and some of their depth, it's utterly ridiculous. And like you said, now that Mookie Betts isn't going anywhere, it seems like they're going to be in contention for a very, very long time.
I
Yeah,
think
exactly.
think something that's
Go
going
ahead.
to help is that they're going to have the universal DH at some point. So like when Mookie and Bellinger start to, when Bellinger eventually gets his long contract and they start to age, they can DH. They don't have to be in the outfield for 162 games every year.
Right. And not only that, when you look at the numbers that Mookie Betts has put up, he's never put up a disappointing season. Mookie Betts has always been absolutely incredible. So the Dodgers know what they're getting. There's no reason there's no reason to expect that Mookie Betts is going to fall off anytime soon. And he's looked really incredible so far during the interleague squad games. So I'm really liking the signing for him.
See, that point
Yeah,
that you made, James, about him being hell-bent on reaching free agency and then all of a sudden signing an extension, it really caught me off guard because I thought this was a guy, no matter what, who would be playing this entire season to get to that point where he would reach the market. I mean, he even said before the season, someone asked him, did you consider opting out of the season due to concerns? And he said, I can't. I'm a free agent at the end of the year. I don't have a choice.
Yeah, like that's something that, like, especially, like, I feel like every day last year we would get questions, in the Red Sox clubhouse about whether Mookie would be there. There would be a question in the Red Sox clubhouse almost every night or on Twitter or whatever about, is this Mookie's last year around the trade deadline? Are they going to trade Mookie? And I think the answer always was he's going to hit free agency. That's what he wants to do. And I don't think he didn't want to re-sign in Boston because I really think he liked it there. But I think COVID-19 and the uncertainty over the future economy really changed everything, and he wanted to secure the bag while he could.
I think that's very respectable. I mean, in these times, you gotta take what you can get, and when you can get a
Absolutely.
$380 million contract, I'd say take it. I mean,
He has been a top 3 player in baseball for the last 5 or 6 years. Like, he is absolutely worth every penny. Like, he, Trout, and Yelich are on another statistically are on another level from all the other guys. No disrespect to all the young talent we have in the game with Soto and Acuna and Tatis and Devers and Torres and everyone else that we have, but those 3 guys have been on another level from everyone else since 2015.
now you mentioned earlier about the Dodgers not having anyone on their books past 2021, really, with Kershaw coming off and some of the other guys coming off. And then you also mentioned Cody Bellinger. Now, Robbie, I'm going to ask you: do you see Cody Bellinger sticking around for the long haul with Mookie Betts with this deal as well? Because they seems to be that they have the financial flexibility to do so if they want to.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't see as to why the Dodgers wouldn't do that. They have 2 superstars that they should be able to build around for the future. They have the money to do it. They have they're going to be contending. So if you're a contending team with a lot of money, you're not going to let your superstar walk away. There's a reason why it seems like the Yankees never let their main guy get away. It's because they have a lot of money and they have motivation to win. And as long as the Dodgers have Mookie Betts, they are going to stay competitive. As I said earlier, this is a team with a really good farm system, and they're going to be really good for a long time. International stars are playing there, and they are going to be good for a long time.
But this might be a stupid hypothetical, but what do you think about Buehler?
I think he could stay too, honestly. I think that the Dodgers could look to build around Buehler, Bellinger, and Betts possibly, and then obviously you add in younger guys. Now, is Buehler going to last as long as Clayton Kershaw did in Los Angeles? Probably not. But remember, the Dodgers built around Clayton Kershaw, and they kept bringing in free agents to kind of be that solid number 2 pitcher. Like, remember, they had Zach Greinke as their number 2 pitcher. Then obviously Hanji and Ryu. They had plenty of other talent. So the Dodgers could look to do that with Walker Buehler and other free agents throughout the years.
Absolutely.
I think that's very fair. Yeah. It's just going to be. It's going to be really interesting to see the path that they take because, at this point, it seems like they're getting fed up with winning the division year after year after year and just not being able to get the job done. Yeah, and losing the World Series, or last year not even making it to the World Series. And it seems like this Mookie signing to me is the final thing of the Dodgers saying, look, we're tired of this crap. We need to finish the job. We're going to overpay if we need to do it. Heck, they've already done that. They did that when they just said screw it and got Machado 2 years ago.
But
and
the
then they
thing
did
is,
it this
this
time
wasn't.
with.
Sorry.
Yeah, what was that? No, go ahead.
But this wasn't like an awful overpay for Betts. It's not like they paid him $600 million. Like,
no,
I don't
not
really
at all.
consider
But
this
it's a
like an
huge
overpay.
financial commitment.
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
One thing that we did talk about though during the playoffs is we thought that the Dodgers were going to possibly blow it up if they choked again in like the first round again. But to me, this is a sign that they're not blowing it up anytime soon. I mean, if you're going to blow it up, you don't give somebody $350 million.
I think it's a sign that they don't just want to win one; they want to win multiple. because they know they've had this core in place for so long and have come up short year after year.
I got to tell you
But
something.
here's-
It's going to be really weird if they finally do win one and it's in a couple years past the Clayton Kershaw era and he's not there. It's going to feel weird.
It will feel weird. Now, imagine if, because this is very possible, like, what are you going to do if you don't win the World Series within the next 2 seasons? They're going to have to blow it up sooner or later, like get rid of guys like, Justin Turner and probably Corey Seager sooner or later if they're not able to win the World Series, if these guys simply just aren't coming through. Because these are guys who are going to get older and they're going to expect bigger deals in the future, and the Dodgers are going to have to save it for Cody Bellinger and Walker Buehler.
Absolutely. I mean, if at a certain point you don't win, you have to blow it up because obviously something is not working, whether it's the guys on the team, whether it's the manager, or whether you just need a fresh start. At a certain point, you're not going to be able to run it back 8 years in a row.
Right. It's just a matter of when will they commit to doing that, and if they don't win this year or if they don't win anytime soon, it's kind of a risky move because you have a really big contract in the future that nobody's going to want to pay a 32-year-old Mookie Betts like $35 million. It's just how the situation is. So it's like, are you definitely committed to keeping him for the 12 years?
And I just think that's the point where free agency is now. I mean, we saw this so many times over the past offseason. If you want the guy, overpaying is part of the game now. I think most GMs, not all of them, because we still have some that do not operate this way, but I think most of them operate under the philosophy of, look, we need to do what we need to do to get these superstars. Yes, we're going to be paying them a lot of money when they suck and when they're really old at the end of their careers, but that's what has to be done.
Right, and I think Mookie is one of the few guys who is worth it.
It's an interesting way to look at. What was that?
I think Mookie is one of the guys that's worth like that $380 million and potentially.
Oh, he's definitely worth it. But
39 years old.
But by the end of his career, he's not gonna. They're gonna be paying him $30 million for someone who he's not. Just like the Phillies will with Bryce Harper, just like the Yankees will with Giancarlo Stanton. It doesn't matter who it is. It's gonna happen now, and I feel like just most GMs have just conceded to the fact that it's gonna happen. Not all. I don't think the guys down in Tampa Bay operate that way. Obviously, I also don't think Shane Bloom will operate that way. But
that's a culture change in Boston for sure.
Oh,
he
huge!
He came up there to change the culture.
One thing I do want to throw out there though, really quickly, is to me, okay, say Garrett Cole doesn't work out in New York. No Yankee fans going to be mad at Brian Cashman if Garrett Cole doesn't work out, and I don't think any Dodger fans will be mad at Andrew Freeman if the Mookie Betts signing doesn't work out. I mean, I don't know if you guys agree, but
all the blame will go to the player.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think anyone's going to be blaming them for that, but that's like what I was saying. To get the superstar these days, that's what has to be done. I think fans have accepted that too. I know when the giant free agent debacle was happening in 2018, 2019, Phillies fans didn't care either who it was, and they also didn't care how much. They just wanted a superstar. Every single one of them knew that we were going to be paying either Machado or Harper $30 whatever million a year when they were old and decrepit, but no one cared. Because they want them for their now, and that's what you have to do to get them for their prime in their now.
And if it doesn't work out, the GM gets fired as the fall guy, but we all know it's the players.
Of course.
At the end of the day. One thing that I wanted to get back to, which is what you asked Robbie, I think in the free agent market, I think there's going to be a huge discrepancy. I think the top guys will get their money. Like Betts obviously just got his money. Real Muto will get his money. Springer, Bauer. But I think, there's going to be a huge discrepancy between those guys and the rest of the market. I don't think you're going to be seeing those mid-level contracts. You're going to be seeing a lot of those mid-level guys sign, 1-year deals to try to reset the market or sign multi-year deals below their perceived quote-unquote value.
You see, that's going to be an interesting case because a lot of guys did that 1-year reset thing this year as well. You think about guys like Gregorius did that. Nick Castellanos has an opt-out that he could exercise if he wants to try to do it again.
He's got a 4-year deal, though. He
has a 4-year deal, but I'm saying I don't think he's going to do that opt-out anymore. He had it in there for the case of if he had a crazy 2020, he could opt out and get even more money, but I don't think that's happening now. I don't know why he would. He's got the guaranteed money, and it's going to be so uncertain going into the market now.
Same with JD Martinez. He has an opt-out. He's got 2 years, $39.5 million left. I don't think he's going to opt out. My second reason is because of the market. My first reason, which I think is the bigger reason, is that the universal DH will not be in effect in 2021, which is a huge advantage for JD and the Boston Red Sox.
Absolutely huge advantage.
Takes 15 jobs away.
And speaking of that universal DH, that's a great segue into talking about some of the rule changes that we're going to get ready for in the 60-game season. Let's start with the DH. As you know, there's going to be DH every game, every team, doesn't matter, NL, AL, for these 60 games. And I got to tell you, I'm not convinced that we are ever going to see this go away. James, I know you think differently, but I feel like this is the perfect case or the perfect reason for Rob Manfred to kind of just work it in there and for it to never go away. I know
There's
he's
a
wanted it for a
caveat
long
with
time,
that.
and I know a lot of people have wanted it for a long time. Yeah, go ahead. What's the caveat?
I think the universal DH will go into effect in 2022. I just think the normal AL have the DH pitchers hitting the NL will come back in 2021, and once the collective bargaining agreement expires after the 2021 season, the universal DH will be in full effect in the new agreement in 2022. Because they could have agreed with the shortened season to have the universal DH for 2021, but they never ended up agreeing to that. So I think we'll have the universal DH go away for 2021, then come back permanently in 2022. And by the way, I am a fan of the universal DH. Robbie, what do you
Wow.
think?
Yeah, so I'm also a fan of the universal DH, but I'm actually with Andrew. I'm actually with Andrew on this one. I don't see how baseball can bring back pitchers hitting consistently,
No,
I
especially
just
with
once
think it's
they get
coming
a
the
back
new
for
taste, it's
1
company.
just going
year,
to
though. I
stay.
just think
What's
it's coming
that?
back for 1 year. I just think,
See,
I only think it's coming back for 1
I
year.
don't even think that they would do that. I mean, that's just a lot of flip flopping, a lot of switching, and it just seems to me like it's kind of weird to have one season where pitcher like you have a universal DH, then pitchers hit, then you go back to the universal DH, all in 3 seasons. Like you're flip flopping at that point. That's I don't see baseball going that route. That's just me. And plus, they were already talking about bringing in the universal DH before the coronavirus happened.
That's a fair point, but I think something that Trevor Bauer alluded to in one of his many Twitter threads that he talked about during the COVID-19 not lockout, but the stoppage of play per se, is he was talking about like we are fighting like cats and dogs at each other to get nowhere because in 16 months we're going to be right back at the operating table.
Yes.
So I don't think that like they're going to want to do anything this offseason because everything is there's so much tension right now. I think they're just going to want to go into 2021 without doing anything. And then in 2022, you go back to the operating table. And I think the universal DH would be a good place for everyone to start when you go to the new CBA, because I think that's one thing that everyone wants. So you try to get everything started on a good note.
Well, if I had to guess, my guess would be that they're probably going to like test this out and see how people like it. See, is it working? Is it not? And then going from there. I mean, at this point, I don't think anything is going to be set in stone. I don't think that they really have a plan. I think that they're probably just going to end up testing it. I just think that at the end of the day, they're going to end up keeping the universal DH. I think that's going to be the result of all this, but I could be wrong. You never know.
So the universal DH, that's 15 more teams now that are going to be employing someone on their team to hit full time. What teams this year, who were, of course, unprepared for this change, they didn't have a chance to go out and sign a DH. What teams are you looking at on paper and saying, wow, that they benefit the absolute most from?
Wait, do you want to take it? You want me to take it?
No, either one of you guys. I have my own team, but yeah, let's hear one from each of you.
I was going to say I have a team that's benefiting tremendously from this, and
Go
I don't
ahead.
think people are talking about this enough. How about the New York Mets? I believe the Mets.
That was mine too.
Yeah.
They are benefiting tremendously from the universal DH because here's the problem with the Mets. Robinson Cano is clogging the infield. They have so many guys who could fit in his spot. You could slide Jeff McNeil in there. You could obviously slide, younger guys. And the problem is, they still can't do that. And then what they're going to end up doing is they're going to have to slide Jeff McNeil in left field because he's too good to be benched, and you can't bench Robinson Cano. So then that allows Yoenis Cespedes to actually hit every day because he's probably still got some in him. So that to me is a big reason as to why I think that they're going to benefit tremendously from this.
I think that was my reason too, is that you can flip flop. It doesn't have to be Cano or Cespedes every day, but I think you flip flop between Cano and Cespedes as the DH. You have Cano play 3 days in a row in the field, then DH for 2, and have Cespedes go out and play in the field for those 2 days, come back and DH. You rotate mainly those two guys to give those guys a break. Cano is coming off a groin injury and he's going into his age 36 season, and Cespedes is coming off a bore injury, 2 ankle surgeries, a bore hunting injury, excuse me. Who knows what he was doing on his ranch? 2 ankle surgeries. He hasn't played since July of 2018. And he's looking a little chunkier, both muscle wise and just bigger in general. He's running slower. I think this gives him a chance to get back into the groove of just focusing on hitting while he really gets back to playing baseball for the first time in 2 years. So yeah, Robbie, you and me are on the same page, Robbie. I think that's the team that benefits the most. I think another team that I would throw in there, I don't know if you're going to say this team, Andrew, the Los Angeles Dodgers, with how much depth they have. Even though
I
they're
was going to say
optioning
the Dodgers
Gavin
as well,
Lux,
yeah.
they're optioning Gavin Lux, but they have so many guys that can
Pollock?
start every day. Yeah.
Yeah, that's another good one. Those were both my teams. So I guess since you took them, I will go ahead and say I'll
Robbie took mine, and then I took yours.
And then you took mine. Yeah. But it's funny because the Mets were then my backup. So I'll go with my three. And just from watching so far, the Phillies are going to be tremendously benefiting from the fact that Jay Bruce isn't going to be their first pinch hitter, and the fact that he's just going to be in the lineup every day. I mean, the guy was one of our best pinch hitters last year, still found a way to hit 25 home runs and only playing, I don't even know, maybe half a season through injuries. That kind of pop in the lineup is going to be very nice, especially because we're still paying him something like, I don't know, $5-6 million, and this way he's not a bench guy. He's just going to have that big bat in the lineup every day. So,
how about the Reds? I think that's another team that you can look at.
I was going to say the Reds.
See, they could do it with Castellanos. They could do it with
because they have an outfield logjam.
Yeah.
So now this
they're a new guy as well. Who's the Japanese star they just signed?
I don't know how to say his
Shogo
last name.
Akiyama, I think it is.
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but he's a big power guy, isn't he?
Castellanos.
Yeah, he is.
Winker, and then your fourth is Senzel. So now you can DH all of those guys, and which would be Castellanos.
Winkler, Akiyama, Aquino, Nick Senzel. They're all, and Nick Castellanos. They're all everyday starters in the outfield, if you ask me. And there isn't much room for them in the infield. I mean, at shortstop, you got Freddie Galvis. At third base, you got Eugenio Suarez. And then at second base, you got Mike Moustakas. So you can't really slide Senzel in the infield at the moment. So this is a true blessing in disguise for them, too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that this helps them a lot. We'll jump. I'll just give something away for later in the show. They're my surprise team this year. That's my surprise team this year.
Really, Cincinnati Reds.
I like that pick.
I have another one in the Central Division as well, but
I think I know who you're going with. You're going with the other hot team.
You definitely know who I'm going with.
Yeah.
But
I think my surprise team will surprise both of you guys.
Oh, okay.
That's the point, though. That's great.
The point. Yeah. So any other big rules I think that we want to discuss? Some of them are pretty standard. That's the other one I really want to talk about because and I was talking to them guys here before we started recording that Tom McCarthy was talking on the broadcast of the Phillies-Orioles game the other night that they were testing out the runner on second. They did it in a couple of inter-squad games, and they were doing it down in Lehigh Valley and other minor league affiliates throughout minor league baseball. And they said that statistically, when they were trying a new inning out with a runner on second to start the inning, something like 65 or 66% of the time that guy was scoring. And that's huge because if you think about that, that's an above half a chance that every inning the teams are going to score a run, and because they have a guy there on second to start it.
Literally, all you have to do is hit a ground ball to the second baseman, and then the next batter just hit a fly ball.
And that's it. And that's the game. Yeah.
But both teams get that chance.
They do. And that's the thing I think
a lot of runner on second with how many outs are there? Is it one?
You're starting the inning with a runner on second.
None.
And oh my gosh. Yeah, no, start it with one out because then that resolves the problem, to me at least.
But if both teams get it though, it's you take out any quote unquote unfairness.
Now, I think I did read about this, but I forget the exacts. How are they doing the runner? Will there be a designated runner before the game?
It'll be the last out of the previous inning.
Oh, okay.
You can substitute a pinch runner. So let's say let's say Jay Bruce hit and he's going to be the guy. Let's say Jay Bruce
bring Roman Quinn off.
Let's say Jay Bruce flies out to end the ninth. The Phillies can pinch run. Who would they pinch run? Williams. Roman Quinn. They could pinch run Roman Quinn, and he would enter the game in Bruce's spot.
Okay, that makes sense. I was going to say, if they had a designated runner, it would get kind of ridiculous. But also it would create a market for guys like Terrence Gore and
I know, right?
Emilio Bonifacio, any of those old fast guys. Yeah, you never know.
Okay, but what do you do? Like if you're the Nationals and you're in a 4-4 game in the ninth and Trey Turner's up, do you just have him get out on purpose so he can be the runner on second?
I mean,
yeah, that changes that too. Honestly, I don't think you can ever do that on purpose.
Do you just tell him like I'm fine if you ground out or strike out because you're going to start the next thing on second. You're probably going to steal third, and then we're going to have the go ahead run on third with no outs, especially if you're the home team.
That's a whole new level of strategy. I don't think anyone has even realized comes along with this rule.
And I'm not trying to advocate for that, but I'm just thinking guys like Trey Turner, D. Gordon, Billy Hamilton, all your burners, if they're the guy that's up that could potentially be the runner to start the next inning, that's something that has to go into it because obviously if Turner is up for the Nationals. Like coming up next, you're going to have, the heart of your order. But if there's also two outs, start the next inning fresh with Turner on second base.
See, that's scary.
So you think that they would tell him, try and get out?
I don't know if they would tell him try to get out, but like maybe if like there's a ball in a gap that's a 50-50 ball, whether he's going to get thrown out at second or not, they might just stretch it into a double and see what happens. And if he gets thrown out, okay, we're going to go into extra innings with Trey Turner on second base.
Oh, that's if they're the. Are you saying if that's the home team, or even if they were the away team? Because
they're either team.
I was going to say, because if there are 2 outs though, and if you get a 2-out double, you're still. I mean, a base hit wins the game. You know.
Oh, right. No, I mean, I think it's a whole level of strategy on it. I mean, a lot's going to go into it, who they're playing, who they have on the mound, all that sort of stuff. But I mean, I think it's something that not a lot of people have talked about, especially if you have a fast guy, right there.
I think that's an excellent point that you brought up there, James, because I got to be honest, I didn't even think about that. Because if a guy like Trey Turner is up there with 2 outs, why would I have him swing away when he's most likely not going to hit a home run and win the game? I'd rather him get out.
It's not like he's some bum. Like he can obviously hit the ball. He can hit the ball out of the ballpark. But like.
But I'd rather have him on second with no outs and Juan Soto coming up. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
That's just I did not even think about that, and that just makes me even more frustrated about this rule.
Right, because they could have Eaton bunt him over, and then you have him on third with 1 out. All Soto needs to do is hit a fly ball, and then the go-ahead run scores whether they're on the road or they could walk it off if they're at home, or tie the game if someone scored in extra innings previously.
Yeah, these games are going to be – I don't think we're going to see – I'm going to make a bold prediction and say we see nothing past the 12th inning this year. I really don't think so. I think this is just going to be too effective.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't think – I'll say the 13th, but we're not going to see like your 16, 17 inning games. That was the point of this rule. They want to speed everything up.
Now, unlike the DH rule, which I think is just staying around forever, I hope to God that this one does not stay around. I don't like this at all.
I don't really like this rule. It'll be cool to experiment in a 60-game season, but hopefully after this they're done with it. What do you think, Robbie?
I probably agree. I mean, I really hope that this doesn't stay around forever. I think it would make much more sense if you had a runner on second base with just 1 out. I don't know if you guys agree or not, but it makes more sense.
But then a double play ends the inning. I think that's the problem. Like if he's stealing and then there's a line drive, it's caught and they double him off. I think that's probably the biggest thing.
I see that, but to me, like it's not as easy to score as if there's a runner on second base with 1 out compared to a guy if there's a runner on second base with no outs. If there's a runner on second base with nobody out, you're probably scoring in that inning. But with 1 out, that changes the whole inning completely. That's my take.
And something else we haven't brought up is that the earned run would not count to the pitcher on the mound if the guy on second scores. Yeah, it would not count because that would be so unfair. The guy comes in, he gives up a ground ball and then a fly ball. He's got 2 outs, but a run scores. That's not his fault at all.
So that earned run is just going to be non-existent in the history of baseball?
I guess. Well, if they can't charge it to the pitcher of the last inning, and they obviously can't charge it to the pitcher that's on the mound then.
Wow. I didn't even think about that either. Yeah. That's a good point.
Because the runner is technically non-existent in terms of like how he got on. That's just like an implemented
But does
rule.
that count as a run scored if he crosses the plate?
I would assume so, and it probably counts as an inherited runner for the pitcher.
And an RBI as well for the batter, yeah.
Yeah, dude, if he gets a double in the gap, how would that not count as an RBI?
It's probably a run and just not an earned run,
Right, that makes sense. Yeah, I think that's the only way you have to do it.
Wow, that is going to be very interesting to see. I don't like the rule, but hey, it could lead to some very interesting scenarios like James said there about...
I'm looking forward to like a Trey Turner, like D. Gordon situation, like if they're the last guy up in the 9th or the 10th inning, and their manager knows that they could be the first guy up.
Yeah.
So Jeff Passan just tweeted, the Mookie Betts deal is actually 12 years and $365 million.
Oh, yeah, I just saw that too. I didn't want to interrupt anything. Thank you, Robbie.
Yeah. So he just exceeded Mike Trout's contract. That's crazy.
Did he?
Yeah,
That's right.
Well, because Trout was technically 10 years, 360, but when they tacked it on to his 2 years remaining, it was 12 years, 427 or whatever it was.
Yeah, and combined with his remaining, Mookie Betts is at 13,392.
Yes, that's right. That's crazy. Good. I mean, good for Mookie, man. Good for Mookie. He deserves it. He's the man. Hopefully, he wins a couple more MVPs in LA, even though it'll pay me that he's not in Boston. And I hope they get another ring. Like, I wish him nothing but the best. All
right, we talked about Dodgers and how unbelievably stacked they are. Let's lead into that to some very quick predictions for the 60-game season. I want to preface this by saying I am under the impression that any possible thing could happen during the 60-game season. We have seen so many teams be hot and be cold in 60 games and have that decide their season. So I am under the impression, especially looking at divisions like the NL East, the
the toughest
Honestly,
division in baseball.
yes, without question. Also,
Yeah.
the NL Central, you can make a case. Some of these other ones, I'm under the impression that out of these divisions, probably 3 to 4 teams I could see any of them winning, and it wouldn't surprise me. It's going to be
Oh, yeah,
absolutely ridiculous. Just if a team gets hot and goes on a 20-game stretch where they go 19-1, that could be the season right there. And
A
I
team
think that's
starts
what a lot of
2-9,
people are
they're
forgetting.
done.
Exactly. Or they go the other way around and go 2-17 or 2-18. The season's done. It could be just like that. And I think that a lot of people are forgetting that when they're making these predictions that I'm reading online. Everyone's just going and saying, well, the Braves they're still the best team in the division. And while that very well might be true, that doesn't mean anything in 60 games to me. It really doesn't, and especially in some of the other divisions as well. So let's
And I
start
don't
with
think
the
you
NL
could
East. We got a
blame.
lot
I
of
don't think
the
you can blame a lot of these teams if they don't perform up to
no.
expectation in a wacky season. Because like a team like Atlanta, let's say they don't make the playoffs in 60 games, like they would probably make the playoffs in 162 and probably win over 93 games.
Exactly.
I'm going to throw out a team really quickly.
Go
The
ahead.
last 2 seasons, the New York Mets have started out ridiculously crazy. Like, if they start out hot again, they're in really good shape
Yeah.
to possibly make the playoffs.
That's what I'm
And
saying. Stuff like that.
Your
yeah,
surprise team?
oh, we do surprise teams now?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can
Let's
do
go with
your
the surprise
yeah.
team.
Bobby, go
All
ahead.
right, so okay, this is a team that I think could be really good, like a team that could surprise people, and it's a team that people aren't talking about enough. It's a team that made a few good moves this past offseason, and I think they could come in second in their division. I think they probably will actually, and that's the Arizona Diamondbacks. I
Wow.
think that people are sleeping on the Diamondbacks too much. I think they could really surprise people this year. It might be
Hey,
kind
they
of
got
a
a good
bold take,
core.
but yeah, exactly. Bring in Solly Marte. You keep Ketel Marte. Bringing in Madison Bumgarner. They strengthen their bullpen a little bit. These are all the kinds of moves that you have to make if you're going to be a contending team. And I'm not saying they're going to win the NL West, but I could see them sliding into a wild card spot.
I could see that. They have the pitching. They have the lineup. They made good moves.
I think a lot of
And it's
people
still
also
a really
forget
young
how
team.
good Eduardo Escobar and Ketel Marte are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's all plenty of young talent. I'm really high on Christian Walker too. I like him a lot. I like the pieces that they have, and I'm obviously high on their pitching. A lot of
Lavello
good
is a
young
great
arms.
manager. Lavello is a
Yeah.
great manager.
Mhm.
Incredibly
I think
underrated.
he's so underrated. Like he is
So
the
underrated.
perfect players manager. He's the perfect guy. He's the perfect guy for that team. They won 85 games last year with zero expectations after trading Paul Goldschmidt. Luke Weaver is good piece. Zach Gallen, good piece. They had Madison Bumgarner, Ketel Marte, Christian Walker, like you've said. Eduardo Escobar, very, very underrated. If Jake Lamb can stay healthy for 60 games and he can hit, 13, 14, 15 bombs like we've seen him get on a couple extended runs, we'll see what happens. But, I mean, they're playing in a weaker division. It's LA and then who?
No one.
Exactly.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like they can take advantage of playing the Giants and the Rockies and, the Padres.
And this team is going to surprise. I think that they're going to surprise a lot of people this year. I think a lot of people aren't talking about them enough. Obviously, they're probably not going to be. They're definitely not going to be being the Dodgers. But who's to say that they don't get a wild card spot? They almost got it last year.
Exactly.
I think the problem with that is, and not really the problem, but that easily could happen if you take a look at a division like the NL East. Everyone could be beating up on each other so freaking bad that the division winner wins, and then the D-backs get one of the wild cards because everyone in the NL East is just like, right there at 500 or a little over because they're all killing each other.
Exactly.
So
Especially
that is
because
your surprise team. James, I think you mentioned the Reds, correct?
yes, I don't know if this counts as they're a sexy pick right now. I don't know if this counts as a quote surprise team, but yes, the Cincinnati Reds are my surprise team, my team that will perform better than expectations. If we were playing a full 162, I had them around 87 wins. They were still probably a year away from making the playoffs, but heck, in a 60-game season, anything can happen. They have one of the best starting rotations in the game, led by Luis Castillo, Sonny Gray, Trevor Bauer. That's a great top three of the rotation that most other teams would absolutely kill to have. And Bauer needs to have a bounce back season if he wants to cash in big on the free agent market, so he's going to be doubly motivated. Sonny Gray is getting the opening day start. He had a really good year for Cincinnati last year that nobody is talking about. He made the All-Star team. I think he finished 6th in Cy Young voting. He rediscovered himself from his early Oakland days after his poor performance in New York. And lastly, Luis Castillo has one of the best changeups in the game, has nasty stuff, is just a complete pitcher from top to bottom, has a great arsenal. Made the All-Star team last year. I think he's ready to become the game's next ace, the next superstar ace up there with Walker Buehler and Jack
Wow.
Flaherty. This is Luis Castillo's
Wow.
time.
That's
I'm not saying
big.
he's going to win the Cy Young this year, but I mean, dude, he's got everything going for him. They've got a good team, and I think the Cincinnati Reds are going to win the Central in a 60-game season.
Wow.
Wow.
You got
That's
them over.
honestly
You got
not a
them over
bad
the
team.
Cardinals and Brewers and all them and Cubs. Wow, that's awesome.
Dude, in a 60-game season, anything can happen. We
I
saw
agree.
how up and down the Chicago Cubs were last year.
I
The
100%
Milwaukee
agree.
Brewers, we saw how up and down they've been. Do they have the pitching? That's the big question.
this
Do they have the
episode,
pitching?
Are we going to talk about disappointing teams? Are we going to say that, like the disappointment? Are we going to say that for another episode?
We'll go after. We'll do that after.
Yeah, we can
Okay,
do that
okay.
after.
So I
'Cause-
got a good disappointing team. I got one.
Okay. And then who was the last team that I haven't mentioned? I mentioned the Cubs. I mentioned the Brewers. The Cardinals. Though, the Cardinals I think are going to be right there, but they didn't do anything this offseason and lost Marcell Ozuna.
Mhm.
Yes, they have Flaherty. They have the Tommy Edmonds going to take steps forward. They have other key pieces there, like Yachty's still there. They have everyone intact from last year, but losing Marcell Ozuna, they obviously Paul Goldschmidt, but they lost their number 3 hitter. And what did they do to
Yeah.
replace him?
And they did nothing to replace.
Ozuna's good.
Exactly.
All right,
So
well,
I
I'm
think-
going with another Central team as well, and I feel like it's probably obvious what I'm about to say here, but I think this team is still, even with all the hype they're getting, criminally underrated here, and that's the Chicago White Sox.
Yeah, I knew that's where you were going when you said another
Yeah.
Central team.
Look,
Like,
this team was already pretty good, and then they just went and just completely went off this offseason. You're talking about a team that already had Giolito, went and signed Gio Gonzalez and Keuchel to bolster their rotation there. That's pretty darn good. I want to talk about their bullpen, too, because I feel like there's a lot of pieces in that bullpen that people don't realize are as good as they are. Alex Colomé is a guy people thought would be traded at the deadline. He was not. He had a great season last year. Kelvin Herrera is still very solid. But the one that I really want to focus on is Aaron Bummer. They gave Aaron Bummer a very sneaky, something like $19 million extension, 5 years this offseason to avoid arbitration. Yeah. And they did that to avoid arbitration and to get an extra year out of him. That is genius. I got to tell you something. The first time I saw Aaron Bummer, or even heard of who he was at a game last August in Citizens Bank when that was actually the game where Vince Velasquez played left field against the White Sox. Great game. And I had no idea who the guy was. The guy came in for like 2 innings. I'm like, who is this? This lefty, Aaron Bummer. He's a nasty guy. I got to tell you something. I know that there's the 3-batter limit now, and that big lefties aren't going to be as valuable, but I think he's a very solid piece in there. And I also think
who else they signed, by the way? You know who else they had to that bullpen that's extremely underrated?
Cishek?
Steve Cishek.
Yeah.
He is so underrated. Also,
Steve Cishek's still pretty solid.
Oh, he was so good last year at a 2.95 ERA. You also forgot to add they signed Yasmani Grandal too.
Oh no, I didn't even get to that. I there's a whole list here of still people. Of course, Grandal. You can make the argument second or third best catcher in baseball, a switch hitter, big power. Love that. Edwin, they signed him to be their DH. That's still.
I say one that you guys haven't even said yet.
What was that?
I say one that you guys haven't even said yet.
That they signed, or that's on their team still.
Extension that they signed that you guys have not talked about.
Moncada, right?
Not talking about that.
Right?
Oh, not talking about that extension either. The
Luis Robert,
Luis Robert.
6 years,
he's gonna be
$50
so
million
good.
before he played a major league game, and he is going to be an absolute stud.
Okay.
Extension
Rookie
was
of the year, yes or no?
Yes. He was my pick over 162.
Yeah.
Like that's who I would have picked anyway.
He's going to be something special. I got to tell you something. Is he on the opening day roster? I think he is, right?
I think
Luis Robert's a beast, dude.
Yeah.
He's just been launching absolute tanks.
Good. Because I was hoping they weren't
Southside.
going to do that thing. I guess since they signed him, the service time thing doesn't matter anymore. So.
Yeah. I think that
he'll be on opening day.
That extension.
And they had some other really cool low-key signings as well. They traded for Mazzara, which was a good pickup. I enjoyed that. I think they did something else with their infield. Was this the offseason that they re-signed Abreu, or was that the last one? I don't even remember.
I think that was two. That was this one. That was this one.
That was this one. Yeah, they brought back him, and
he and JD Martinez, big DHs.
Yeah. No, that's a very good team. And I'm going to say right now, they are my pick for the Central. I know that the Twins have their ridiculous power in their lineup, and I know that they're going to be the favorites coming in. And you know what? The White Sox might not even be the second favorites. It might still be the Indians because of all the hype they have around the superstars that are still there. But I'm picking the Chicago White Sox. The philosophy I'm going
disagree with that. Like I'm not
is
picking
that
them to win the
60 games,
division.
anything can happen. What was that?
I'm not picking them to win the division, but I don't disagree with that at all. Like I totally see that happen. Like I could totally see that happening, especially.
Do you have them making the playoffs?
Right, you want me to get to my predictions now or not?
Yeah, you can give us a briefly. What about that one though? Do you have them in a wild card or no?
Dude, right now I literally have it as like I'm gonna flip a coin tomorrow morning, and had like if it's one side, it's gonna be the A's. If it's the other side, it's gonna be the White Sox. Like I literally like it's gonna be those two teams neck and neck
Wow.
for that last
Not even
wild
the
card spot.
Rays.
Oh, the
Not
Rays
the
are my
Rays.
first wild card, dude.
Oh, okay. So you got the
Rays might
Rays
win
and either the
the
Athletics or
Rays
White Sox.
might win that division too. The Rays might win the AL East. That pitching
Over the
staff,
Yankees?
that pitching staff over a 60-game season is absolutely deadly.
That's true.
The top
Yeah.
Snell,
Morton.
That's now Morton. 1, 2, 3, boom, boom, boom. All those guys are going to stay healthy. Through like 40 games last year, Glasnow was 6-0 with like what, a 1.7 ERA.
Yeah.
Snell
Yeah,
Snell is not going to drop a houseplant on his foot this year and break his toe and miss 4 weeks because he had a 2.19 ERA through his first 6 starts before he broke his toe, missed like 6 weeks, and then wasn't himself the rest of the year. And Morton is just criminally underrated. Like nobody talks about him.
Yeah.
I have New York winning that division, but I'm saying I think a lot of people are underestimating how good the Tampa Bay Rays are. Austin Meadows in that lineup, all-star. I know they traded Tommy Pham, but they got back Hunter Renfroe. He's going to slug. They need power. We talked about that all last year. That was the one thing missing from their lineup. Yandy Diaz, what he did in the wild card game, if that can translate over a full season, obviously he had a good month of April. He was hurt most of the year, but like they need power in that lineup.
They signed Aguilar as well, didn't they? He's a good bounce back candidate.
They did on a flyer deal, like a cheap flyer deal.
Yeah.
Brandon Lau or Nate Lau.
Oh,
their second baseman.
Yeah.
He probably would have won AL Rookie of the Year if he didn't get hurt in mid-July.
I personally think that the Athletics would make it over the White Sox. But I definitely think it's a very difficult decision. There's no doubting that.
Yeah, I agree. What's your division picks looking like there for both leagues, James? We'll do them real quick.
I got the Yankees winning the AL East. I have the Twins winning the Central, the Astros winning the West, the same as last year. The Rays getting the first wild card, and on the show, I'll give an official prediction: the Oakland Athletics will get the second wild card. But I think the Chicago White Sox will finish one game behind the Oakland Athletics, and I would not be surprised if the White Sox got the second wild card spot. They're absolutely ready, and if it's not this year, then it'll be next year because they're absolutely loaded and ready to go for the future. And in a 162-game season, I wouldn't have them in the playoffs. I'd have them missing by like 4 or 5 games. But in a 60-game season with all this young talent, you never know what's going to happen. Weird things happen. So that's why I have them and the A's neck and neck. I think
all right,
A's,
very fair.
We talked about this, all three of us. Matt Olson's going to have a breakout year. Matt Chapman is going to do Matt Chapman things. The pitching is a question outside of Manaea and Luzardo. You hope Montas bounces back after his PED suspension. He started. Did he start? No, he didn't start the wild card game. That bullpen, they got some good pieces down there. AJ Puck, we'll see what he can do. But I mean, the pitching is the question for them. But I think they have enough ultimately, led by Olson and Chapman. Chris Davis bounce back here, to make a run at the second wild card. My NL predictions: I have the Nationals winning the East. I have the Cincinnati Reds winning the Central, and I have the Los Angeles Dodgers winning the West. My wild card teams might surprise you guys. I have teams from the same division. I have the Atlanta Braves and the New York Mets.
Wow.
Okay.
I just think you look at, Atlanta doesn't have great starting pitching depth, and that's one thing that does concern me. But I think if you just look, and I know weird things happen in a short season, but I think if you look at the team on paper, you have Acuna, you have Albies, you have Freeman, you have guys who are going to post legit MVP numbers. They're too good to. They might struggle at some point, but I still think the struggle won't be prolonged because of the offense, and they'll rebound enough to make the playoffs. And I think we talked about this earlier. The New York Mets, they got all the pieces in place. They have a top 2 pitcher in baseball in Jacob deGrom, arguably the best pitcher in baseball. Who's chasing his 3rd Cy Young in a row. He'll be fresh. You have Alonso, you have McNeil, you have Cespedes coming back. We'll see what you can get out of him. They have we'll see if Brandon Nimmo can bounce back. They have Cano coming back. They have JD Davis had a really underrated year last year.
Oh yeah,
he had a really underrated
over 300.
year. Yeah,
over 300.
And he had 22 bombs and I think an 890 OPS. Like he had a year that not a lot of people are talking about. I think they have all the pieces in place to make the playoffs. So those are my predictions. And no, like Andrew, no disrespect to the Phillies, I think they're going to be right there. But again, it's such a tough division. Like the Braves and the Mets, like one of those teams might not make it, and these teams aren't making it because they're bad. It's just because with the only the majority of your games being played in your division, it's just going to be so tough.
Playing them in the division, and also the NL East is going to be playing the Yankees, Red Sox, and Rays the rest of the time.
No, both Easts are going to have a very tough time because like the AL East at the top, you have the Yankees, the Rays, and like the Red Sox don't have any pitching, but the Red Sox are going to have probably a top 5 offense in baseball. Like
Exactly.
JD Martinez, Rafael Devers, Xander
I agree.
Bogaerts. Tell me a better 2, 3, 4. I'm not trying to be a biased homer, but like tell me a better 2, 3, 4 in the game. Maybe Trout, Ohtani, Rendon.
I don't even
Like,
think they're better. I don't even
I'm
think
saying
they're
I
better.
think that's the only one that could rival it. Like you have,
Yeah.
like JD Martinez, a top 5 hitter in the game. Rafael Devers is on his way to becoming a superstar, and Xander Bogaerts is a superstar.
Yeah.
And if Benintendi can bounce back, Christian Vasquez had I personally think Benintendi will have his breakthrough and bounce back year this year and just take off because we haven't seen the best from him, and all the talent is still there for him. But the Red Sox do not have the pitching to make the playoffs. They just don't have it. I mean, I'm going to be their 5th starter at this rate.
Probably do a better job than anyone they find too.
Erod is coming back soon from COVID. I think that's only going to hold him out like 1 week. So I'm not worried about that.
Yeah.
And then I think a 60-game season really helps Eovaldi because I think he can stay healthy over that. And we've seen when he's healthy what he can do in a truncated stretch. And his stuff is looking really good right now. But then after that, you're rolling out Martin Perez. I mean, come on. And then Ryan Weber. Then your 5th starter is an opener. And then their bullpen is just atrocious. Last night they had a bullpen meltdown. They were up 8-6. I mean, they were up 6-5 and they lost 8-6. I'm already ready for the Red Sox to blow. The Red Sox are going to score like 11 runs a game and lose 13-11 because their pitching will blow every lead. Offense will
Hey, welcome to my life the past 3 years.
Oh, I know, but I know. I understand what you're going through. Like the Red Sox will have one of the best offenses in baseball, led by 3 absolute studs, and then Benintendi bouncing back and showing everyone how good he is. And then you're just going to have guys like Martin Perez. The Red Sox will score 6 in the top of the first. Martin Perez is going to somehow find a way to give up 8 in the bottom of the first.
Yeah.
Think about this, guys. We're going to see Tommy Malone versus Nathan Eovaldi on opening day.
Good Lord, can we talk about that for a second? The fact that this guy is
Don't hate on Eovaldi. Don't hate on Eovaldi.
No. Just Tommy Malone though. This guy's the opening day starter for the Orioles. I don't even think he had a job a couple weeks ago, did he?
Well, it's because Means got hurt.
Yeah, I know it's why it's happened.
Going to be the opening day starter.
It's just insane. I saw that news up. That was like, wait, the same Tommy Malone? Hold up. Wait, this is the same guy. Was he the one who his first major league hit was that home run?
It was. I was actually
so.
at that game.
With the Nationals?
It was it was with the Nationals. It was against the Mets. I remember that.
Yeah. Tommy Malone, because he spent all that time in Oakland, and that was his first at-bat ever, I think.
Yeah, it was.
That's
his first at-bat in a home run, yeah.
Yeah, good for him. He went from probably not knowing if he was going to pitch a game this year to, hey, guess what? You're the opening day starter. Baseball's crazy. It really is.
Go back to Nathan Eovaldi. I'm not hating on him. I just don't think he's an opening day starter.
Erod's hurt. He's coming back from COVID. He hasn't built up yet.
Do you think he's okay? But is he a number 1 starter though?
He's not a number 1 starter, but who else are they going to roll out?
You.
Yeah, that's weird.
Oh yeah, I mean, I wish. I want to get back to the Mets real quick. I do think that the rotation depth obviously hurts with Syndergaard being out, but this is the perfect year for guys like Syndergaard and Sale to be out with Tommy John because, like, even though both their teams have somewhat chances to do something, I don't think either team's going to win the World Series. But I mean, they're not like the Marlins or the Orioles. Like, I think this is the perfect year to be out. But the Mets still have Stroman. So they still have a solid number 2. And then going to the Mets bullpen, Familia should have a bounce back year. And I think Edwin Diaz will have a bounce back year because he apparently he was tipping his pitches last year. And it was a very obvious tip and teams were just sitting on it. And now he's fixed that and he's looked somewhat solid through these first few inter-squad games. And now through, their first exhibition games. I think Diaz is going to have a bounce back year and really be the anchor to the Mets bullpen.
Betances too.
No, absolutely. But I'm just talking about like the guys they had last year. But yes, Betances.
Yeah. Familia
Betances is a big addition.
Lost
Seth
a lot
Lugo
of weight.
too. Yes, he did. And then Seth Lugo bouncing back, obviously. Like I think the Mets have everything in place where they have the universal DH, Alonso and McNeil anchoring the lineup, DeGrom anchoring the rotation. And especially in a 60-game season, I think they just have everything in place to go make a run at it.
Yeah, I believe that. I agree.
That's very fair. Winding down the clock here, have a little bit more time. Robbie, anything? We kind of got the predictions there and an outlook of some of the big teams. Is there anything you just want to finally say about any predictions you have? Any big changes from James's?
Okay, also give World Series predictions at the end.
I agree with many of James's picks. Although I will say, I believe that there's going to be some random team that either does really well or really bad that we're not expecting. I don't know who it'll be, but like I said, one thing that I did want to point out, my disappointment team, my all disappointment team. I have two candidates. Okay,
All right.
two. One, I think the Braves could be disappointing this year. I think they could be really disappointing.
I'm with you.
James doesn't have them winning the division. I think that's very possible. Honestly, this might be a little bit bold, but a third place finish behind the Mets or Phillies. I mean, in a season this short, I believe anything is possible.
I could see it, especially because of their lack of pitching depth. But and I totally
Exactly.
agree that some team that is going to come out of nowhere and make the playoffs, and some team that you expect to make the playoffs is going to disappoint. But dude, I literally can't pinpoint who. That's the problem.
That's what I'm saying.
Nobody can pinpoint who. So I'm just gonna if you want to hate on me for not being bold, that's fine. But I'm just gonna go the safe route and put the Braves as one of my wild card teams. But I could totally see a scenario 100% where the Atlanta Braves miss the playoffs because their lack of pitching depth.
I think it's just it's a lack of more than just that though, because think about it. They already lost Markakis, who's done. They were going to have a big replacement in Puig there. That fell through. Camargo's out. Smith is out. I know they have Ozuna, but you said with pitching. Camargo's already out. Smith is out. Hamels is out. Nobody knows what pitching. They have none. Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. Well, that's not that they have none. They still have a couple guys.
I think you have Soroka, and then you have Fried, and then you got to hope that Fulte bounces back.
I don't think he will. I think
he's a wild card. He's a huge wild card.
I honestly think that they do not have enough depth overall to win the division. In a 60-game season, like James said a couple minutes ago, I'm trying not to be a biased homer here, but the first 60 games of the last two seasons, look at the team that was in first place. That's all I'm saying. And it wasn't the Braves. The Phillies. Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying. And I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen this season. I'm just saying that the Braves have the past 2 years gone on their run and picked up ground midsummer in the games 80, 90, 100.
Absolutely. No, I totally agree with that. Yeah.
Okay, so you guys do agree that the Braves could be one of the more disappointing teams this season. They could be.
Yeah,
you also said
it probably sounds stupid for me to say that, but I could totally see it.
Yeah,
even though I
could definitely see it as well. Now, my second team, I think that this is more of a realistic one. I don't think that this team even really has high expectations except for their fans. But that would be the Chicago Cubs. I think the Cubs could be really disappointing this year. I believe that
what do you define as really disappointing?
500 or below.
Wow.
Okay.
See, I don't see enough pitching with this team. I don't see anything with their bullpen. I mean, the bullpen's weak to me. I see a lot of candidates in their lineup who could really disappoint me this season. And when you add all that together, I think that there's so much room for error to the point where I could see this team finishing around 500. Yeah. Especially
I think you're kind of looking at an NL version of the Red Sox, where Bryant and Rizzo and Contreras and Baez are going to produce offensively, but then it comes down to pitching. And who do you have to anchor the rotation besides Darvish? And then who do you have in the bullpen?
I mean, John Lester's washed up. Tyler Chatwood's been a disaster. Jose Quintana was really bad last season. Kyle Hendricks, I will say, is still really good. I believe he's extremely underrated. I see a lot of Greg Maddux in him. I think he's really good. But, when you put all that new and then can you guys name 3 pitchers in their bullpen for crying out loud? Because I can't.
Kimbrel. Morrow just got released. Carl Edwards.
Do they have Montgomery still?
No, Carl Edwards Jr. is gone.
That's what I said. He got traded.
Oh, yeah. And my point is, they don't have much in their bullpen. That's the point I'm making.
It's not great.
No, it's not a good bullpen. And plus, Kimbrel was really bad last season. He was just not in it. So I see a lot of room.
He didn't look great. He didn't look great in the inter-squad games.
Exactly. So there's a lot of room for error, if you ask me. And that's why I think they can also
the playoffs.
I don't either.
Andrew, do you have the Phillies making the playoffs? Or just give us your predictions.
I'll give them quickly, and then we'll do the World Series because we're coming up on time here. Division-wise, the 3 winners that I have are... Let me find them.
Just the Yankees in the East?
Yankees in the East, of course. You already heard I have White Sox in the Central, Astros in the West. In the NL, I just can't pick. I think it could be any of the 4 teams. I
will say one thing that really benefits the Nationals. I know they got off to the bad start last year, but A, they're going to have that confidence, and B, that rotation in a 60-game season with Scherzer, Strasburg, and Corbin is almost unfair. It's kind of like a Tampa Bay.
That's huge.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put that one as I don't know. I have no idea. I do have the Reds also winning the Central. I have the Dodgers winning the West. I want to say real quick, I'm not going to get into any specifics for wild cards. I think it's just too close to call. But
The Nationals making the playoffs.
no, and I'll tell you why. That's what I wanted to say. This
No?
Nationals team, I don't think people realize how big of an impact Anthony Rendon has until he's gone. What protection do you have for Juan Soto? I have no incentive to pitch to Juan Soto to this team right now. I have no incentive. Why would I? Who's following him? Howie Kendrick?
I think another thing is that yes, Howie would be following him. Is over 162, they would probably make the playoffs, but like in a 60-game season, weird things happen. And Rendon, you obviously like he was so vital for them the last 5 years.
He was I know the starting pitching really carried them, but if you don't have Anthony Rendon on that team, Juan Soto's not seeing half the pitches he saw. This is the same situation we saw when Prince Fielder went to Detroit, and all of a sudden Miguel Cabrera had the best damn year of his career. It wasn't by accident. It was because he had that protection of Prince Fielder behind him. It's the same thing here. I'm not saying Juan Soto's going to have a bad year. He's a superstar player, but why the hell would you pitch to him when you don't have to? I'm not afraid of Howie Kendrick. I'll take Howie Kendrick anytime over Juan Soto.
I agree.
I understand that losing Rendon is a huge loss, but I think in a 60-game season, like with a stellar rotation, that can make up for it.
If they win the division, it will be because of that, because that rotation is just still ridiculously scary and it's not going anywhere.
Absolutely.
I will say until the end of time, and I could be wrong, and the Nationals could win the next 3 World Series, and I'll look like an idiot. But until the end of time, I think that they should have spent their money on Rendon instead of Strasburg. I really do.
I personally think they should have signed Rendon instead of Strasburg, but like, you can't fault them for signing Strasburg because it's not like he's some bum they picked off.
If it's not broke, don't fix it, because that's the reason they won, was because they built around that pitching, and that's fine.
He's a top 10 pitcher in the game. And
he
I don't
is.
know if you guys and Bryce Harper said this on his interview with Starting Nine over quarantine, is that like the Nationals were always one pitcher away, and that's something they've always valued in that organization. And he knew once they signed Corbin that they weren't going to re-sign him, but B, he said to Scott Boras that they were going to win the World Series in 2019.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, he did.
I didn't know that.
That's a very good interview, by the way. Shameless plug. Go listen to that if you want to do that. If you, I just the amount of Bryce Harper hate has just gone up exponentially since he signed his mega contract. Please go listen to that. The man loves the sport. He's passionate. Go listen to it, man. That's a fantastic interview.
Robbie, what's your World Series pick? Because Andrew and I have the same pick.
We do.
Okay, so I'm going to be honest. I haven't put much thought into it. I believe that the easy answer is the Yankees versus the Dodgers. But as I said earlier today, I believe that there will be surprises this season. So I'm going to show a little bit of bias and say that the Yankees make the World Series. I believe adding Garrett Cole to this team is going to be huge. I do kind of worry with the home run ball. I've alluded to that many times. But out of the NL, I could see this team surprising people. And honestly, I could see the Reds making the World Series if things go their way.
Wow.
I think
that's a shocker.
Yes, it's a shocker. I believe that the Yankees versus the Dodgers is too simple of a pick. It's a really bold one, but hey, you never know.
We kind of have a simple pick too, Andrew. You can take the floor on this.
Yeah,
I just wanted to change things up. I just wanted to change. If you got, Yankees versus Dodgers is too like basic. I just wanted to mix
that's
it up.
the pick that if you're looking on paper, it makes sense to. It does. But
yeah,
James and I were talking about this earlier, and to us, you can't ignore the fact that the most possible, at least in our opinion, the most possible outcome is going to be a 2017 rematch, and we're getting Astros-Dodgers.
I think the Astros and the Dodgers.
And I got to tell you something, and no disrespect, disrespect to the Yankees.
World Series, Robbie, yes.
But I have the Astros over them.
So why? I'm just curious.
Why? Because
first of all, those 3 teams are going to be the best 3 teams in baseball.
Yes,
they are.
Yeah, agreed.
They are there's those 3, and then there's everyone else. And I think, Andrew's probably going to allude to it too. But you look at the Astros. Yes, no disrespect to the Yankees. They have a phenomenal bullpen. They added Cole to that rotation, have an unbelievable offense. But yes, Houston lacks starting pitching depth. I totally understand that. But I still think you have Verlander, Greinke, and you have an unbelievable offense. They're
just an insane team. I was watching them the other day. I think it was yesterday against the Royals. They're nobodies that are in their like double A and single A thing are up there, teeing off these guys. The Astros are just too talented, I feel like, to not do this again.
Okay, to me, I see your guys' point, but you mentioned all those things about the Astros, and they're correct. But are we going to ignore what the Yankees have? Because that's a lot of depth right there. Their pitching has so much potential. Their bullpen's already loaded. They took the Astros to 6 games last year, 6, and they nearly beat them. And then they stole their best pitcher, stole Garrett Cole. Andrew, you called him the best pitcher in baseball the other night. I still think he's the second best pitcher in baseball. But they added Garrett Cole. They stole him away from the Astros. Now, the reason why I say the Reds, I believe that the Reds could be this year's Washington Nationals. I believe they could slide in there and make the World Series run like nobody expects them. And remember, last year the Nationals had really deep pitching. What do the Reds have? They have some pretty good pitching, especially, and I believe this will happen. I believe Trevor Bauer will be incredible this year. I believe that he's going to have a great season right before his free agent year. He's
Gotta
going
get
to get
paid.
his big buck. He's got to get paid, and they're going to have a top three-head rotation, and they're going to have an incredible lineup. I think the bullpen's going to be a big issue, but I believe that there's some ways that they can work around that because the Nationals had the same issue.
All right. I think that's very fair. There's our World Series predictions there. We are just about out of time here. So we're going to wrap this up. Hey, opening day is tomorrow. I think we just need to acknowledge it again real quick. That is a beautiful thing. It has been a terrible year. There's been a lot of uncertainty and sadness, but you know what? We have baseball again tomorrow, and it's not the way that we're used to it, but it is baseball. Rejoice in that aspect. With that said, that's going to be all we have tonight. Go ahead and check our Twitter for updates regarding the rest of the new season of Nation's Pastime here. Like I said, as soon as we get back in August, we're hopefully going to get in the booth and not have to do this remotely. But if circumstances make it that we can't do that, we're going to continue to do it remotely. We're going to get the show out come August. Like I said, we just wanted to do a little episode here, getting ready for opening day, and we were glad that we got the chance to do this. Thank you all so much for listening.
Real quick.
Yeah,
do you have the Phillies making the playoffs?
Do I?
Yeah, dude. You have do you have an NL East? Do you have two NL East teams making the playoffs or just one?
I have two NL East teams taking the playoffs. I have the Phillies making a wild card.
Okay, then who's the division? Atlanta or the Mets? Since you don't have the Nationals.
Off the top of my head, you can see my paper. I've scribbled it off so many times. Off the top of my head, I'm going to go.
It's one of those two.
I'm going with the Mets.
With the Mets. Okay. All right. And then who's your other wild card in the NL?
The Braves. I didn't say they'd miss the playoffs. I just didn't think they'd win the division.
So you have three NL East teams in the playoffs.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
So,
I do. Yeah.
Yeah, we both have three NL East teams in the playoffs, except I have the Nationals. You have the Phillies. Fair enough.
Correct. Yes. So I don't know. Like I said, I think the philosophy that we're gonna have to go through this entire 60-game season is anything can happen. Anything truly can happen. We could see the Reds in the World Series. We could see an Orioles Marlins World Series. You never know.
Oh, by the way, I want to throw out one last thing.
Sure.
Today, Bleacher Report made a list of the top 100 players in baseball. Okay, Jose Altuve was number 51. Let that sink in. Jose Altuve was number 51.
That doesn't seem right.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, that doesn't seem exactly right there. No, but with that said, yeah, I think let's wrap it up. Any other final thoughts before
MVP and Cy Young picks? We can rattle them off in a minute.
Yeah, sure.
Anyone have any?
I'm gonna give my totally biased opinion because I said at the beginning of the year that Bryce Harper would be an MVP. I'm gonna still say in 60 games he can get hot.
Hey, AL MVP. Robbie, go. NL MVP. Andrew. Yeah, go, Robbie.
All right, my NL MVP, I'm gonna go with Mookie Betts. I think he's going to have a great first year with the Dodgers. Right. I think he's going to surprise people. And then my AL, I'm going to, just because we're low on time, I'm going to go with the easy pick and say Mike Trout.
Okay.
Your AL.
My AL, Matt Olson.
Yeah. Okay.
Matt Olson?
Yeah, man.
Okay, I'll give my MVPs, then we can go Cy Youngs. The thing with the MVP is that, I think in a 60-game season, your team is going to have to make the playoffs. So I think Christian Yelich will put up the best numbers in the National League. But I think because he doesn't make the playoffs, they're not going to give him the MVP. So therefore, he was going to be my pick over 162. So because I don't think they're going to give him the MVP, I'll give it to Mookie. But
all right,
if my official pick would be Yelich, but I think the voters are going to find a way to not do it. So I'm going to go with Mookie.
All right, Cy Young.
From
you, Robbie. What do you got?
Are you asking me? All right. So like I said, we're short on time, so I'm just going to throw it out there. AL, I think this guy could really surprise people. Tyler Glasnow. He's looked really good so far. Okay.
Glasnow's mine as well. I agree.
Oh, really? Wow. And then my NL. This is a really tough one. NL.
Let me throw a name out for you. Luis Castillo.
I was thinking about Castillo too. I don't think DeGrom's going to win.
I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah. DeGrom's not going to win. I don't see him winning his third straight Cy Young. I mean.
Actually, no. I'm going to change my Walker Buehler.
Okay, that's fair.
Okay, I like that pick.
And then AL, I had either Tyler Glasnow or Garrett Cole.
That's fair.
I want to say Garrett Cole, but I
Don't want to
would
jinx
get really nervous. Home runs in Yankee Stadium, I believe, could be a bit of a problem. I could believe it could be an issue. I really hope you're right, though, James.
All right, well, there you have it. We got our predictions out there for the shortened 60-game season. Yeah, I already said the spiel here, so go ahead, check our Twitter. We'll let you know when we're first going to be live. What do you think, guys? Probably last week of August, I hope. That should be.
Yeah, I
second
think
to last
so.
week of August.
We got to figure out. We're going to be figuring out a new schedule, date, time, everything like that. So keep posted to our Twitter for that. And again, thank you guys so much for watching. It means a lot that you were able to come out, listen to our little pregame or preseason stuff here. Stay safe. Hopefully, everyone you know and love is doing fine during these times, and get ready for some baseball to keep our mind off of some of the terrible stuff that's been happening.
Sir, can't wait for what's going to happen, and all you Mets fans get excited for Michael Conforto to have another great underrated season.
Yep.
That's my closing thought.
Very specific, but all right, I like it. With that said,
Michael Conforto.
thank you, everyone. Have a fantastic rest of your evening.